well with you all. It's your boy TC and your boy E. How's it going today, man?
Hey, my man, how you doing today?
Had a really good July 4th weekend. Hosted some friends over, had you over on the grill. It was a good time. A lot of laughs, a lot of love, a lot of fireworks going off in the street. It was a good time.
Absolutely, absolutely, and what a weekend of sport. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, for sure. But before we start, definitely have to give an RIP to Diego Jota and his brother Andre Silva. Diego Jota, he played for Liverpool. This past weekend, he died in a car crash with his brother in Spain. He was 28 years old. He had just gotten married a few weeks before. He leaves behind his children, his wife. It's a really, really sad affair, but want to make sure that we give a quick moment to acknowledge that.
I think, I think on that note, I would also like to give props up to Liverpool. Um, so what I've seen them do is confirm that they will continue to do his annual payments of his salary to the family
Yep.
and the kids, which I know is something that Norwich did not honor when they lost their player as he was going to transfer. So I think that's the beauty of football is trying to look after people's families in this tragic moment. And I think in doing so, we kind of remember how precious life is, regardless of who you are. Um, their tragic circumstances of two people of a family, first and foremost, a brother, a father, and sons, who lost their lives tragically through a puncture,
Yeah.
driving a supercar, overtaking normally, not doing anything crazy. So I think if that's anything to anyone, is just to kind of remember, um, yeah, life is precious. And
Very, very much so. Definitely make sure to stay with your loved ones. Tell them how much you love them. Definitely, definitely out and feeling for the family and all of the people that have been affected. It's been a very, very big outcry of support for everyone, especially within the football community. So,
yeah,
yeah, big ups to
I
everybody.
think
That's just keep going.
I think on that note, we sometimes we talk about players and how they are in general towards other players. And I think even though this is tragedy, and yes, there might be some people looking for cloud chasing and things like that, but I think vindictive is the outpour of support of for Diogo Jota specifically and his brother from all different types of players around, which is vindictive of maybe the kind of player he was in person. More importantly, he was to people, not just as a competitor, but as a person.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I think holds really dear to me is to see that from players from opposing competitive teams and countries really just showing their gratitude. Um, Even to the degree with there was a big uproar around why Ronaldo wasn't pitching
Yeah.
up. And one of the things that I thought this was interesting was that the reason he didn't pitch up is because a lot of the focus would not be on the family and them and Diogo and more on Cristiano. And I think him staying away shows a lot sometimes. And he said this that it's more about important for them. As very similarly, he's gone through something with his own family, had to go through this with a lot of things. So I think this is vindictive of the time and place to watch the humanity in football that we're seeing throughout all players being shown,
Yeah.
and remembering why we're really here in the first place. Playing the game, creating relationships. Yes, we're here to win. Yes, we freaking hate Arsenal and Liverpool, but really, like, end of the day, and this is something I try and live by on the field. As a competitor who will tell you to shove a ball where the sun doesn't shine during the game, is that after the game we shake hands and we're grateful for the competition that we've had. We're grateful to get through it, and you leave it on the field and you create those relationships, and that's more important as humans, and that's why sport is created.
For sure.
And I think I'm not a Liverpool fan. I've never supported teams that jogos except for Portugal at times. But I've really felt like an outpouring of emotion for him as a player and as a family man. And he'll forever be remembered for his iconic celebrations where he sits
Yeah.
down and plays the PlayStation.
Plays
So
FIFA. Yeah.
yeah,
No, it is definitely something to really make sure that you just take a second and think about it. 28, like I'm mid to late 30s now, and I'm like, if I had everything like that, and it it just all is taken away. Plus, losing your brother at the same time, and just feel really bad for the parents that he has because they just lost two kids. Again, his children. He was a father of three. His wife, he just started that relationship of being married within that. So, yeah, it's just things just move too short, especially in the world that we got. So, yeah,
Really.
tough. But this has been a crazy summer of football. There have been some things that have been going on all over. Where we want to first start off is with the CONCACAF Gold Cup final that happened yesterday in between Mexico and the U.S. Mexico was able to pull out the win 2-1 over the U.S. Raul Jimenez and Edison Alvarez were able to score. Alvarez scored in the 77th minute after Chris Richards he scored in the 4th minute for the U.S. And there were a lot of interesting calls. Mexico had so many goal scoring opportunities. The U.S. had a very blatant handball that could have been called. The referee from Guatemala, he decided not to call it, and VAR decided not to award that penalty. Pochettino, after the match, he said, if I say anything, it won't overturn anything. It happened, but you can see with your eyes that it was a handball. So TC, kind of want to see where you want to start off here first. Usually we have our main guy PJ, who's the leading brigade on everything U.S. men's, but not showing up here today. It's a tough one. So
It's vindictive, and I think it just shows where our man is today. Unfortunately, look, are we disappointed? Yes. The USA got off to a great start. I'm sure the journalists are already writing some of the headlines around some of the team players. Yet, did Mexico deserve to win? Yes.
yeah,
My opinion, yes, 100%. Some of their controversial calls. What sport doesn't get there? That handball, I'm sure we'll get into in a second. I want to say this. Before the gold, before this started, would we have taken USA in the final? Yes. Were we impressed by where we got to? Yes. Have we seen some growth? Yes. Are we in a better place than we were before? And when we had our guy bitching about this guy? Yes. The other week we were bitching about Pochettino. Is he the right guy? Or what's going to happen if he doesn't make the CONCACAF? Remember that conversation? And what did I say to you guys? I said it doesn't matter what happens here, but this is to build. And even without the players who we are calling the A team, he got to the final. So what does that mean? It means that he's got a base of players to work from. For the final, Mexico have always had our number the last few years. We know they're a good side. I've heard some mutterings from PJ saying some things about them. Blah, blah, blah. They've got a kid called Gilberto Mora, a 16-year-old kid who looked like the Lamine Lamal.
yeah, he was flying.
Okay? He was like, and so they have their own succession plan. Jimenez back without a head guard, which scared me when I saw that. I said, guys, that's the old Jimenez. Watch out. That left foot shot of his that went into the roof of the net, first time, great finish. Poor defending, in my opinion. As a defender, I would have loved thing to get his foot across to block that, but he looked at trying to stop the nutmeg, in my opinion, which kind of gave it a bit of an edge. But great finish. Second goal they scored off another set play. It's another part. We've got to be stronger in set plays. So I think the idea here is, have we been able to build on the squad? Has Pochettino been able to build on the squad he knows? Has he learned more about his squad? Yes. So for a report card for this competition, I'd say an A. I think the goal was to learn about your squad. Who can you definitely put on the plane? Who needs to work a little bit harder to get onto the plane? And who do you know you're definitely going to need for next year?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I've been very critical of Pochettino. I was very critical of how he was going to be viewed, especially coming into the tournament. He had lost all of those matches. It was not looking good. And yeah, this is not the strongest team. And a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, we really need these players. No crap. Yeah, we definitely need Pulisic, Serginho Dest, Tim Weah, Weston McKinney. We need those guys to be able to be good. it was nice to see that a stronger Mexican squad was being pushed to the brink by this U.S. squad that is coming in now. I mean, now this next crop of players who are most likely going to have more prominent roles after this World Cup, they have the wherewithal to be growing into the game as players. Like, it's a really good thing to see that he was able to do that. But the U.S., you still need to push what is happening right now. And even though this is the second consecutive win for Mexico and their 10th all-time record within the CONCACAF Gold Cup, it was still there for the taking. And the U.S. didn't get it done. We can jump into the handball situation. That was in the 66th minute. That was a very crazy sequence of events. Jorge Sanchez, he slipped, and while he was slipping, he put his hand out to brace. Now, this was a very controversial moment for Arsenal versus Liverpool, where Martin Odegaard also was slipping. It kind of looked like he played a little bit of basketball. And so that's where my mind exactly went. Like, okay, if that's not getting called, then surely that's not going to get called in this match. And how much I felt for Liverpool fans during that one. But watching it over, Odegaard only touched it for literally half of a second. Sanchez touched and palmed that ball to stand back up for about a second and a half. So the fact that it wasn't called by VAR and the fact that the referee didn't call it on the field and no one after, like, there was nothing done about it and there has been no match report after it because CONCACAF does not roll like that. They will always back the referees. Why is that still not out of the game? This is the whole reason why we have replay, you know?
So obviously then it comes down to the interpretation of the law. And the law stipulates that you're allowed to plant your hand down, right? In a natural
Touch the
position.
ball. Yeah.
Okay. And that is what they're ruling on, is the fact that his hand went down to where the ball happened to be to plant him to stabilize. Okay. It didn't move in any other direction towards the ball in terms of any other unnatural direction. So it really comes down to the interpretation. Now,
Well,
interpretation is very susceptible to the individuals interpreting it,
yeah.
unfortunately. And this is where, like the law, people might be able to sway different ways based on what you hear. So, to your point, that is what they're basing it on. That's what I was hearing today, because that is the law around it. Is the fact that it wasn't any natural. He didn't move towards it to try and block it, but it was his planting hand that it was a natural movement. So I understand the frustration, especially Arsenal fans. Yeah, poor me.
We won that match. So
But
I was feeling empathy for Liverpool once I saw that because I know exactly what they felt in that second.
Unfortunately, that's the thing about football, right? Is that like that might not be called yesterday, and then tomorrow, like for like 3 points, like a real thing, you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
So I think you're right in terms of what needs to be done in terms of a direct kind of ruling on that. But as far as the laws go, and all federations will back their referees to the consumers and outside. We'll never get anything else other than that. Pochettino's not going to say anything. He doesn't want to get fined. Players aren't allowed to say anything. It's very much, hey, international media is not allowed to go into Gaza with that sense. You know what I mean? So you'll never really get anything around that, unfortunately. So really, I think it is just to kind of go with what's being said in terms of the interpretation of how they're saying it, and go, you're lucky this guy is the guy who's refereeing it now for Mexico, and then, let's see who does it next time. I think interesting call was that there was no recall to VAR to go see a screen, and then for the referee to make a secondary decision, which for me is always vindictive of how VAR see it as well. VAR can call you, and the referee, I've seen it happen very few times, which is why often when we see VAR called over, we know that often it means turnover. But I've seen VAR get called over, he looks at it.
Thumbs up.
And he says, no, I'm going with the call again, because he's allowed to look at it again. And that's what VAR is there for. So I know we feel hard done by, but in this end, I kind of have to go with the benefit of the doubt with the fact that they had the replays and what I saw and the fact of what it is. You have to go down to this, boys. We're not going to rely on a handball to win us games. Okay,
Sure.
that's just not what's going to happen. You got to put yourself in those positions to win the games, to allow those things to put you over the hump, and that's how it happens. You're winning the game, that thing happens. It doesn't matter. It's not a thing. You lose the game, and now it's something for us to focus on. Negative. Our focus is what you've just said, and I loved it. We gave experience to players to build a squad for next year. So
No,
I'm
for
glad
even further than next year. Like,
exactly.
yeah,
But for what I'm saying is like to give you an example, as I'm sure we'll lead into the next segment later, is what they said with what Pep did recently with his squad for the Club World Cup. Is he played a lot of the same fuckers all the time. Okay, Bernardo Silva, all the guys. He didn't give enough run to a lot of the younger players.
yeah,
In which, in all honesty, this was a perfect opportunity to do so, to breed those players in, not just for preseason, but for get their experience. But he kept consistently, which I think is fine for Premier League season, where you're building that consistency and familiarity with the team, etc. But he kept with the same aging squad that he's been using. And I think that is where like you saw a difference with Pochettino, which I like. He borrowed a playbook by you. Some of you guys might not know him, but his name is Rassie Erasmus. He's a Springbok South African rugby coach. And what he did for his squad is over the games like this, is he bred 50 different players. So they all had a familiarity of the process of what is required, the match day experience, the things that are required from players in that position. So that if anyone gets injured or goes out, it's not like, shit, this is the first time I'm doing this. Oh, how do I do this? You have this familiarity. And that's what wins you games and
yeah.
tournaments, is having that squads.
No, I mean, I like what Luna is going to be able to come into. He's a very very quick and shifty guy. He was the leading scorer of the tournament. He scored in just about every match from quarterfinal to except for the final. He wasn't able to score, but Tillman, I really like what he's going to be bringing, especially now that he's going to be playing pretty regularly for Leverkusen next season. I like what I saw from Freeze. He was the main goalkeeper for the tournament, even though that Turner isn't playing regularly. He's still considered the number one, but he's now have real competition. I like that idea, but we'll see how this translates into at least making it to the round of 16 for the World Cup next year. All of these players that have additional experience, how you blend it in with the players that are coming over who said like, "Oh, I'm a little bit tired. I've been playing in Europe. I had a really long season." Now you can really see it. And on the other side, Mexico, they said, "You know what? We need to still be able to stamp out that this is our turf. CONCACAF is ours, even though we have the automatic bid into the World Cup this year." Mexico was like, "You know what? We still need to win." Like they've been the last couple of years, even though they've won consecutive Gold Cups, they've had some really, really trying times. So them with their squad, with Alvarez leading as the captain, Jimenez, he's still leading, still scoring goals. Sanchez, Alvarado, Gallardo, like Mexico's like, you know what? We still need to be able to put our best foot forward, still continue to stamp out and say like, hey, we're still the big guys on the block in CONCACAF. We know that Canada's gotten better. We saw that Guatemala and Honduras got better. F all that. We are still here. So it's pretty exciting for CONCACAF fans. I'm really excited about like the direction of the region, and I'm really excited to kind of see how this all translates for for the World Cup. I mean, you never know. Hopefully, all of these teams, Canada, U.S., Mexico, can at least make it out of their groups and make it at least to the round of 16. So that's my main analysis for that.
I think you're right. I think, like I said, I think there's some players who booked from the USA squad who booked themselves who are always going to be on the plane. But some of the names that you mentioned definitely, put their hands up to say, why wasn't I in the Olympic squad of Luna, for instance? Why didn't I go to the Olympics? Definitely going to be in the plane for next year. A bit disappointing with Adriana. Let's be honest. I had better hopes for him. I think he's got the skill and strength. Sorry, not the skill. The pace and strength, which is not something I like to utilize to describe a player of such origin too much. But he lacks the technical skill. I think we saw that in the final third, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the players that you mentioned really, just really impressed with with Matt Freeze. To be fair, I think he was really solid, and I think he's 1,000%. He's one of the first names on there. So I think this is all for some of the players who might have been on the fringe we don't know, just to cement their plays, and for others to say maybe you need to look at me a few more games to make sure. I think what I loved about that Mexican squad is that, like you said before, it's a nice mixture of youth and experience. It's they've been to the finals, they've been to the quarterfinals. They are playing at home. They're going to have a lot of support next year. I think they'll be one of the most supported teams throughout this World Cup.
Yeah.
So a lot of their games will feel like will be home games. In fact,
Yeah.
if they're not in Mexico, so we're going to see a squad that really has the ability to change and scare some people next year. I
For
think
sure.
this might be one of the times where I'm going to raise my hand and say this might be one of the teams you want to watch, who might go under the radar just because they're a host nation and they're in Mexico, but they have put out some really cool, fun, exciting teams before that have really
Yeah. No longer
changed.
having Ochoa though, but
That's fine, but what these guys do is people forget about teams like Mexico is they change the fabric of the World Cup. They win a couple of games, and then all of a sudden, you expected 1 and 2 places who are in their group are no longer your 1 and 2s, and you think it's going to be A versus B. You expect it on paper. Next minute, you've got Mexico versus Japan, and all these kind of things. And because of that, the whole landscape changes. So I love it. I love a strong Mexico. Good for them. The positivity, I think, that goes through their camp. As you said, they had some poor years, but they keep doing these things, which I think is vindictive again of the kind of camaraderie they have in Mexico in their team camp and their team system. That even though that they've had some difficult periods, when they get into certain camps, their camps doesn't matter how long they are, team comes together and they get together and they make it happen. And you
yeah.
can see that they play for each other. I think there's just there's a collective Mexican DNA through that team, which I like to see. And this is not to say other teams don't have it, but we have said that America is sometimes lacking a bit of that. Why we're doing it, and I think
that extra bite.
to touch on that, I want to say that I did say this, and so did Landon Donovan a couple of weeks ago, about how badly the team USA had lack of heart. So I would love to say that what we have seen from this team is that heart, playing for each other, putting in the tackles, doing the hard work, shifting in when someone shifts out. So that's what we've seen. That's something we have to take out of a positive. And the biggest part about this is just going to be learning from this, man. Guys, I told you, this was cool. This was a dress rehearsal for like whatever. Okay? Not a big deal. Who cares? Like, great. There were things we take from it, we move on. We know what's happening. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
the big dog sitting in front of you.
Yeah. I would love to know from our listeners. We have some viewers on our YouTube channel right now. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the U.S. chances moving forward, Mexico's chances of moving forward in the World Cup next year? Now, switching gears really quick, we have the Club World Cup. TC, we're down to the final four. We have... Yeah, it's crazy how fast this tournament has flew, and it has actually been really fun. It is. I remember when people were first talking about this tournament. Oh, I'm not going to watch. All of these European teams have been playing so many games. We've had one major injury. Really sad that Musiala he tore his leg ligaments, but he's supposed to make a complete recovery before the World Cup. Let's hope and pray that happens. But that's been the biggest one so far. Other than that, this tournament has really shown the complete gamut of different football styles around the world. We had in the quarterfinal, we had two teams from Brazil. We had a team from Saudi in Al Hilal. We had one team from England. We had a team from France. We had a team from Germany. We had two teams from Germany and one team from Spain. And right now in the semifinal, the final four, we have a Brazilian team, an English team, a French team, and a Spanish team. And Fluminense, Chelsea, PSG, and Real Madrid. I've really enjoyed this tournament a lot. It's been quite the ride. And going to the matches, the Brazilian fans have been amazing the entire tournament. Like going to the match, I had an amazing time with the Palmeiras fans, really understanding who they were. But then as well, they travel really well too. Fluminense, Botafogo, Flamengo, they all traveled around the United States really well. You had Borussia Dortmund had a really strong chance to beat Real Madrid. Courtois Magic is still alive in the year of 2025. And now you're still being able to see the Euro champions and PSG still rocking out. They are on the right side of the bracket against Real Madrid. And we have Chelsea going against another Brazilian squad, this time with their former club captain in Thiago Silva, who is now with the captain of Fluminense. He's going to be going against Chelsea. So, TC, would love to hear your thoughts on the tournament so far, and who do you think is going to make it to the final?
Oh, it's unfortunate because I did want to see. Obviously, I think I would love to see a PSG Real Madrid final only because I'm a European slut. But I think that you've mentioned it like well represented. We've seen great styles of football. I think Gigi Donnarumma is a dickhead for the way he took down Musiala, just reckless tackle, but at the same time, as a keeper, don't come in my box. Shit's gonna happen to you, son. So I understand both sides. It is what it is. I think looking at the last four, Fluminense have just got that skill. They've got great experience at the back. I think there's Thiago Silva's essentially got 75% chance of one of his teams winning this, one of his former teams winning this. And I think that, obviously we're going to see between Chelsea and Fluminense, I'm leaning towards a Fluminense kind of upset there. And I think we'll see Madrid in the final. That's just my own personal opinion at the moment. I'm enjoying what you said, the attendance of the Club World Cup in the bars that I've seen rather than at the stadiums. I have unfortunately seen FIFA have to, for instance, with the Chelsea Fluminense game, reduce the price of tickets to $14 to interest people.
The prices of the tickets were way too high, especially with all the things that are going on. And you're telling people to travel to the United States right now, and this entire climate, like you have to do
just people, yeah.
First, I mean, that's why be more welcoming to people. I know FIFA. I did a whole paper on FIFA way back in the day because that's when I first started really feeling like, okay, this is the thing that I wanted to kind of base my career off of, and that's how I started working for MLS. And FIFA, no matter what, they go and they just make all the money and they leave whatever country in their wake just stripped of everything. The US is already large enough where you don't have to do that. So, but you still have to be inclusive because the US is already so expensive with all of these other fans that travel,
No, 100%. I think that's why with such poor attendances, Chelsea being a lack of fans in America, they are trying to reduce they are reduced tickets to $14 for that game. However, interesting enough for PSG Real Madrid, tickets are still like close to for the close game like $1,000 or whatever it is. So
yeah.
Different brands sell different prices. So those two games, really excited to see. I think we might try to see if we can't go see some of the games that are supported around the city, especially with the next semi-final, to see what that's going to be like. I think those are great games to go and watch in the bars and see the support. So we'll just try and get some feedback on those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I really wish I could leave work to be able to watch that match. But I would buy a ticket for the Fluminense Chelsea because all the matches left are going to be within New York at MetLife. And going there the first time, it was very easy to get to. Made it very simple for me to it was on a holiday within the United States as well. So it just made it simple enough for me to just go watch a game. So that PSG Real Madrid match, as much as I would love to watch that live, like all the stars are playing, the European champions, the 15-time European champions, former Club World Cup champions. We'd love to see that live, but you can only do what you can do. But I've fully love the fact that this tournament has shown like around the world all of the different ways that football affects different people. Seeing the Japanese fans, as much as I kept talking about them, the Urara Red Diamonds, when they came over and you see them chanting in their side of the stadium, they have their own moment. You see how Monterrey against Dortmund, how many Mexican fans actually came out for that match. Al Hilal actually beating Man City. You see Sheik Senior versus Sheik Junior go up against each other. Real old money barons just like battling it out. You can see the upstart within MLS. They actually made it to a round of 16, which is huge. Even if their groups wasn't as strong as the others, they still made it to go against PSG, and they only lost 4-0. So that's a win for MLS. You got the Sundowners with from South Africa. They actually had a really strong chance to make it to the group of 16 as well.
Sundowns.
Sundowns.
It's
Oh
not
yeah,
Arsenal.
Mamelodi Sundowns. My bad on that one.
I'm talking about a drink here.
I was thinking about another place in the sun stuff. But yeah, Wydad from Morocco. You had Al Alali. Just being able to watch that match, it was just really awesome to see like the club support, because a lot of people don't really get like why people follow teams outside of what they're interested in or their country affiliation. Like trying to help someone that is brand new to the sport understand why you have the World Cup, and then you have a Club World Cup, and then you have your Premier League, and then you have your championships just within one country. And then as well, you have the Asian Cup, you have the Copa Libertadores. Just being able to try to help people understand that, but it actually being condensed into, okay, all of the top clubs in these spaces, you now have a chance to be able to enjoy watching every 4 years. It was a really good. This tournament can only get better with more experimentation. Maybe not as much emphasis on people play every match, just because people are getting injured, and we've harped on it on this channel as much as we have. Just the amount of matches that these people are playing, but for the fact that they are still going, we are in July, and these people, their season is just about done before they have to go back and play at the middle to end of August. It's really enjoy.
It's insane. The other teams are back. Other teams got back on Monday.
Yeah.
Other teams have started to go back on Monday. Okay. Already, Real Madrid have asked for an extension on to move their first game. Okay. So think about it. These players have no holiday. They're going to have an extended break. Yes, they're going to have an extended break. And what you're going to have to see is some of the players and teams are going to have to start without some of their players for the sake of their own sanity, for the sake of them having a bit of a break.
Yeah.
But it's now going into World Cup season, bro. So to be fair, and no offense to Jamal Musiala, maybe it's a good thing he got injured now, because like you're out for 5 to 6 months. Okay, you're gonna see the turn of the year, and then you got like 4 or 5 months to get into shape, son.
Yeah.
The best shape of your life, boy, because here it comes. The Germans are invading. So, it does worry me a little bit, and we will come back to this next year because you hit the nail on the head, brother. Like, Kylian, we expect this guy to go and score another 50 goals this season. He's just scored 50 goals. He's still scoring goals. His team is, the other guys, they're going back to practice, okay? There are people back at Villalobos already starting to practice now, waiting for the rest of the teams to fly back and go straight to training. So it's just, yeah, man. Imagine you at home having no break and having to perform at your optimal best for 2 years. And then in that 1 year, you have a big event that they really like define your fucking career.
Yeah.
They make memes for you. They call you whether or not you're a loser based off 6 weeks of a year.
Yeah.
Of your entire, if you're lucky to go to another one. You know what I mean? So, I know we think these guys are amazing and paid a lot, but I kind of try and put it in my own. I put it in my way. Do you know how you feel if you don't get a break? Do you know how you feel? You know how you feel if you don't get a break? I know how I feel if I don't get like Huh? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
When if you don't have a weekend, like extended breaks, I mean, that's just the American way. Like for some reason, they just don't believe in extended time off. Companies have gotten better, but the American working person or the American working culture has never understood longer than 2 weeks off. We always look at our European counterparts and we're like, oh, y'all are traveling for 2 months. And then you meet an Australian. You're like, you're traveling for 4 months? What's going on here? How did you get this time off?
Why are you living life? Why aren't you working your life away?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
They
yeah,
have it
no,
better.
look, yeah, look. I'm grateful for the football, but there's an evil side to the other side there. You know, what you hit the nail on the head about money making being made somewhere else. So let's hope this just doesn't come to bite ourselves in the ass. So, maybe Pochettino isn't as fucking crazy as y'all make him out to be. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Well,
your key fucking players. And you know what? Another I'm gonna bring this again. To those of you who don't know who Russia Erasmus is, okay? Please do yourself a favor. And I'm not trying to promote another sport within this podcast, but there are lessons we can learn from the coaching of others. And that's why coaches, football coaches, rugby, cricket, basketball, they get together to share learnings because they're vitally important for team dynamics. And what this coach has done, Rusty Erasmus, is player welfare. Your best players need to be in their best shape and mind to be perform at their best. That's common sense.
mm-hmm.
Now, some leagues play a lot more consistently. Premier League doesn't have a Christmas break, for instance. So what Rusty Erasmus has suggested some of his top players is they change leagues to leagues that play less but pay higher, that allow them to play less sport on their bodies but get more value out of it, to give them longevity, to allow them to be at the best form when they come together into international camp. Very similar to what Pochettino has done now. Okay. All the players that he let off are still contracted by Team USA. They might not get match bonuses, but they're still contracted by Team USA. They didn't play, but they come refreshed and they go back to their seasons and have full seasons with a full break ahead of them. Okay. Now the season's going to happen, and a lot of them are in like international leagues, which give them Christmas breaks as well, which is great for them. So we might just be seeing an ingenuity being played here, in which those players are already on the plane, and we need them to just focus on their form and format and mentality. Gio Reyna didn't need any bullshit down here from y'all, you know? Christian Pulisic didn't need any of this from y'all, okay? Christian been enjoying himself. So I think there's a little bit of that, and really it's about that. How do we now start to play specific? So you will see strategic, a lot of wheeling and dealing with clubs starting to happen. A lot of wheeling and dealing which you don't like, which clubs hate. Your club hates it. My club, I pay for all of his salary. You're telling me not to play him. How am I not supposed to play Bruno Fernandes for Manchester United? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't play soccer, we might as well call this Tottenham. You know what I mean? So these are things that are going to be very tumultuous during this next year. The relationships with international and clubs, that kind of thing, giving them enough time to rest, to perform their club, and then the amount of times that the internationals want them. So it's really like maybe it was great if you weren't selected right now to play or whatever, so you can get a rest, and then you can build your form. Good things for players like Marcus Rashford, who spent the off season really working and stuff like that. Like players like that who really have like 4 weeks to work on themselves away from all the scrutiny and time and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, I mean, to end this point is out. Like you said, you're going to see some strategic resting going to happen for especially the players that just came back. You're going to see a lot of teams are going to punt August and September because October is when Champions League starts. So you're going to get those players back. So you are going to have some people having two months off, solid 2 months off to be able to do the things that they need to do. So I'm really hopeful that these larger teams, the PSGs, the Real Madrids, they're now going to have a chance to really rotate and understand players, being able to play in different positions, giving people actual time off so that you can see kind of just like how Pochettino just did with the Gold Cup roster. You get to see like a new up and coming star kind of emerge and then be able to have him on your bench and ready to kind of go. So
Mhm.
kind of just want to push that point off right there. We keep chugging along.
Thank you for that, Eric. Really appreciate it.
For sure. Now, with the UEFA Women's Euro has just started, uh, we got to see some really good squads come through this past weekend. What I want to really focus on are the big hits of the Euros right now, which is France was able to defeat the current holders of the Euro, uh, the Lionesses of England, 2-1. You had a woman after my own heart, Sandy Baltimore, was able to score the winner in the 39th minute. Kara Walsh was able to score in the 87th minute for England, but it was a little bit too little, too late. And so, one thing that I really want to harp as well, Spain was able to demolish Belgium earlier today, 6-2. So, the front runners, obviously, France, England, and Spain. Currently, there are two more matches left within these groups. Spain is definitely a front runner, as they always are.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
just
I mean, they defecated on Belgium. Some of the stats that I saw today, they had 33 shots
yeah,
to 4 shots. Okay. When
yeah.
I mean defecated, I mean like, ate some of your chicken this weekend, went to the bathroom, defecated. Like just, okay. I love the Spanish team. It is made of some amazing talents, and I think the Spanish team is kind of like that Barca team. A lot of the players play for Barca, play for Spain. Apologies for Spain, for España. So there's that like cool link up of familiarity, which I'm really loving. Really loving. It's really like that team is gelling. What I mean gelling, they're like making jello shots out of grass. Okay.
No, I mean, what I'm seeing with their squad, it doesn't really change. They don't really need to. They have a very well-oiled machine. Um, like yeah, Putellas, Paredes, Pina. It they just keep doing what they need to do, and they don't stop. Like obviously, I'm going to call Spain as the front runners for this tournament. Getting 33 shots off on any squad is kind of insane, but Belgium is supposedly a pretty good squad. So the Swiss, without Alicia Lehmann, were able to beat Iceland 2-0. France is definitely going to be within the tournament front runners as well, especially after beating England. So it's going to be a really good tournament. Like England has a really good chance. They have to regroup. They have to figure out what went wrong in that first half because that's where they got beat. England were able to put on all the pressure at the very end, but yeah, two more matches. You just got to win out, at least make it out of your group, and you got a really good chance to make it to the final. So excited to see where this tournament goes. Really want to understand and see what Germany do tomorrow because they're another like big powerhouse within the Euro. Uh,
Huge powerhouse.
yeah, so got
Huge
to
powerhouse.
see.
Great technical ability. Going to be a great team. I think. Just on that note, as you were any man, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think the old adage of not being able to watch women's football has long been surpassed. And if this is any vindictive, just watching some of these games and the highlights of this is the skill on display is fathomably, disgustingly sexy in the sense that it is gorgeous football. Okay, we're not talking about long balls up. We're talking about strategically tactful implementation of great football IQ on display here by some of the best in the game on the women's side. And I'm just in awe of some of them. You know, before I might have been able, oh yeah, I can definitely slide tackle someone. No, 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 no. They would mock me. Okay, they would mock Eric, but they would mock the shit out of me. Let's be honest here. So I'm really, really engaged to see as the tournament progresses. Some of the matchups are really, really interesting, and I really urge you to do the same and to really get behind some more of these of the female game because the football is really great and exciting. Sometimes it can be really fast paced and it's really, really cool to watch.
Oh yeah, it took me a little bit to truly get into it. I mean, the U.S. women's national team has always been super strong in my entire life, and just loving the fact that there are more opportunities for people to experience the women's game. You actually can see like where the clear differences are technically, but you can also see where strategically, as you said, like where the women kind of stand out. So for sure, really excited to see where this Euro goes. Spain definitely giving that front runner.
I
Uh,
mean, you probably took a long time to get into it because you watch a lot of Arsenal, and Arsenal are like static and erratic. You know what I mean? So you probably weren't used to such beautiful football when you were looking at the women's game. So we understand that.
no,
Little
it was always the U.S. women's national team. That was how I truly got into it, and then the NWSL really trying to help that sport grow, both on the commercial side, working for different brands, but then as well also spreading the game, working for the Colorado Rapids in within the United States, and also helping the grassroots efforts there. So I always had to go to both the men's and women's youth soccer tournaments to be able to get people to come out to matches. So that's how I
ladies
got
and
it.
gentlemen, Eric Marcellus Merritt completely missing the joke. Going,
No, I heard it. I just had to correct you real quick. But yeah, I think I want to end our show there. Some of the things that are happening right now within the transfer window, Arsenal has done some amazing things. We have some really good things, but I don't want to jinx it, so I don't want to talk about that. Other than that, we had Paul Pogba. He
Whoa,
just,
no, not gonna do that, son. No offense. We're not gonna jinx. We're not gonna glance over news because you don't want to jinx shit. Excuse me, favors. I'm sorry about that, listeners out there. This is a problem with biased media. Okay, the problem is we gotta call people out when it is. The fact that we have some news, we're gonna talk about it. Not
okay.
because we want to jinx it, because you're scared you might lose out on your little target. Oh, sorry, pal. Okay, shut up.
All right,
Let's
then
get into
I'm just gonna have to do this. I'm just gonna have to do this
yes.
one real quick.
Okay, I'm going to start. I'm disappointed about this one, but I understand why he would choose Arsenal over any other team like Man
At the
United.
current rate, yeah.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
Manchester United, we're supposed to be in for Gyökeres, and
Yes.
where they're
If we
at,
had Champions League football, he'd be coming to us. Let's be honest.
um, we don't know
Just
because
nod and
we'll
say
never know.
yes. No, we will. I mean, he said so. So yes, I think that's one. I think that for me is a huge coup. I don't know. In fact, that's how we know you're a chicken shit. Because if that does happen, that is a huge coup. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not even an Arsenal fan. You need a freaking spearhead. That guy scores goals. He's refusing to play back at his own club, so he ain't going back there, okay? Unless they pay him extra, and he pushes for a deal like Nico Williams. So we'll get into that just now.
Yeah.
And let's just say this: you asshole. Actually, no, because that's such a big thing. You know what? And the fact you're going to gloss over it, I'm going to eat you into it. This is so important for your club. I cannot stress this enough. You were so close so many times. We spoke about this. Of course, there are other areas you need to strengthen, but your most important part is a striker.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the most important piece of your fucking business in the last 3 years, in my opinion. Okay? You need a proven goal scorer and a proven, unfortunately, not necessarily in our league, but fuck that. You need a proven goal scorer. And the fact that you did not want to talk about it because you're scared to jinx it means you know how important it is.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
this year
sorry.
is so
Yeah.
important as a
And I
fan.
apologize for bringing it out to you to like this, but I think we owe it to our fans to be like, we have to talk about it because it's so important to Arsenal, dude. Touch that flag, baby. Say you need it. Say you need it with your chest because, baby, you need it, okay?
Well,
You need it.
what I would love to have is all the other things that are happening at the same time to just happen. Arsenal were able to secure a backup defensive midfielder after another situation happened. We had our main starting midfielder just come in now, Zubimendi. He just signed this past Sunday. We have links out with Noni Medweke from Chelsea,
Yeah.
possible backup for Saka. We have Eberechi Eze. He's
In terms of injuries, but yes.
yeah. We have Eze from Crystal Palace. That's looking like it's being pushed forward as well.
What?
Um, I'm this is the first time as for a transfer window. I'm happy. So I didn't want to jinx it. My bad.
So,
My bad,
well,
listeners.
that's yeah. Then don't do a podcast, my friend, because we need to talk about that because your team, that's big news, and I'm happy that I I'm happy to be Arsenal if those some of those come true, especially for Joker. So great for those. Let's see how they build over the next week and see where we are. That's a problem with now is people utilize other clubs for that kind of thing. You mentioned Paul Pogba. I think as someone else in our team mentioned, you know, football is to some players, to some people, is more than just a game. We might not know it because it's not our life. It doesn't give us. It is not what we play to earn money.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, anyone who has known football in the last 10 years knows of Paul Pogba, knows of his larger than life personality, knows that he is, that kind of guy. His players and team members seem to love him because he is that guy in their team.
One of my favorite quotes by Pogba is 1 week they love you, 1 week they just slag you off. Guess what? I'm getting paid both weeks. Like
Okay? But what we have seen happen to some players in life in all different kinds of sports, okay? Some deservedly, some not, okay? Whether it's Rio Ferdinand or Lance Armstrong, okay?
that's an interesting
Facts, that's what I said.
space to
I
put.
said whether they deserve it or not. Some people utilize drugs, other people miss drug tests and are treated differently just by missing them. There were other things that play there. I'm not going to say John Terry-ish, but there are other things that play there. But what we've seen in a player who's had his seemingly we thought his career was over. That's it, done. 4 years banned, then changed to 18 months. Okay, that journey of him and his family for him, and then let's not forget what happened to Pogba. People, his brother trying to blackmail him. All of these. I don't care what anybody says. That's just some stuff that you don't know how to deal with, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with that. So he's gone through a complete cycle of life. So I'd like to raise a hand to that man to say the fact that you are still able to. There are players right now trying to get football contracts who are playing every day. The fact that he's able to get a contract at Monaco right under the eyes of Didier Deschamps, who lives in Monaco, with the eye on if he gets enough game time and he's Paul Pogba, maybe he'll be in the squad because he knows what Paul can bring. There's a potential. Let's see if he's still got it,
When he was at Juventus, some of the things that he was able to do was just amazing. And I think him going back to Manchester United really stunted his career trajectory. And I'm not saying it as Manchester United was a bad squad. I think when he left it the first time, I think he should have just left it there. He was able to do what he needed to do at Manchester United. Ferguson said, look, you're not getting into our midfield right now. He went off to Juventus and he was able to prove himself. He decided to go back for the money more so than the personal glory. So that's my only thing I gotta say. Not saying a bad thing about Manchester United. Like you guys won. Not saying a bad thing about y'all, but I think for his career at the time, especially after that dominating performance in that World Cup, you could clearly see he probably should have went to Real Madrid or Barcelona instead of Manchester United.
Wow.
That's all I have to say.
If you, Mr. Paul Labule Pogba, if you watch our show, I'd like to apologize for my colleague here saying you went to Manchester United for the money. A club that you grew up in the youth system for.
Yeah.
A club that you played since you were like, yeah, you're right. Hey, why go home? You're going there for the money. Asshole. Okay? Don't you ever insult me again like that. No, let me finish.
Again,
you said the bit. No.
He killed it in the Italian league.
No, whoa.
That's all.
You spoke on it. Yes, okay. So at the time, Matt was what a dick. Paul, I'm sorry. Number one, no. He didn't go for the money. Don't insult a player's reason for going for the money. He went home because
I think his agent Mendes at the time was a big driving factor, especially with his relationship.
Let a ninja finish his point after you said yours.
You do it.
Thank you. It's on my club, especially on my player. Let me get into it. Okay, so to your fact, I think it's interesting. It's easy to say that when he's getting paid a lot of money. Please, Eric, I know you're saying he's going there for money, but he was like one of the youngest, best players at the time. So regardless of where he was going, he was going to be getting a lot of money, right? Okay, let's get that number one straight. Number two, he felt like an unfinished business at Manchester United because it's where he grew up. Okay, I think you have to realize that he was going back to some of the players where he won the youth cup with of his players. So there's a familiarity. So let's not get that wrong. Did he go to the wrong place? You could say that now, easy choice. Like you were saying, we don't know if there would have been a better choice for Geico. So it's easy to say that. It's much easier to say that. So there are a lot of players that things could have gone A and B. I'm not going to argue point by point. I think I'm just going to defend you on that, only on you saying you went there for money. I don't think that's fair. I think whatever. But yes, you're right. His trajectory could have been anywhere. I think you're 100% right about the Juventus point. When he was there, he was playing amazing football. He was playing amazing football in the youth leagues there.
Yeah.
So Alex Ferguson didn't think he was ready, or didn't think he deserved the 48,000 he wanted as a youth player, because Sir Alex Ferguson was, and it's fine. He went to prove himself at Juventus and he did very, very well there. I think I'm grateful for the fact
that he was never able to do it with Sir Alex Ferguson. Like, that's the thing that kind of stings as well, because I know, especially at that time, those rebuilding years, I'm sure you're just like, if you really look at it, if he was with Seth,
he won trophies. He won more trophies at Man United than you guys have won over the last 5 years. So let's just agree that he's great to have in Monaco. And let's move on to one other part in Manchester United. Now that we're talking about getting people riled up, lately I saw that Ruben Amorim has told 4 players that they are time for you to get out. Anthony Rashford, Alejandro, and
Rasmus Højlund.
No, Rasmus apparently might stay as well. There's someone else. So there's four of those. It was 4 wingers. Oh, Jadon Sancho.
Jadon Sancho, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you guys going to do? These guys are on crazy wages.
Crazy wages, man, Eric. How, I think the problem. I never understand why coaches do this. Hey, you're kicked out of the WhatsApp group. You're talking. It's basically saying go find another club who don't want you. But I always hate when clubs do that, especially to players like Rashford been their whole lives and stuff like that, who can add value while you train there. You know what I mean? To have the speed stuff. But I guess he's trying to set a precedent. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just, you're driving down the negotiating that a team can do.
You get this.
No, I'm just watching the situation play out, and I understand Amorim's position. He was just like, hey, look, I've been hired to do a job here. I have to do my job the way that I want to do it. Now, is it going to be proved to be fruitful? Who knows? We'll see what the squad looks like at the end of the summer, at the end of the transfer window. But right now, you have Anthony, who came over on a top fee, who just killed it over at Real Betis, and he can't stay there because they don't have the money to pay his wages. You're most likely going to have to loan him again to Betis, and you're still going to have to pay probably around like 60-70% of his wages compared to the 30%. I think the structure that you guys had last year was 60-40. So
the second time we said that we won't be doing that. If you want the second time, we become Trump. The tariffs will take in place.
Who else is going to take Anthony right now?
Well, there's a potential. So now that I love Nico Williams, Nico, you are my new friggin' legend, because all of these things. You must remember, it's so funny how all these transfers have an effect on a lot of other clubs when you do this. So if one club buys this, for instance, give me an example, and I'll come back to this point. When they were talking about Neymar, Coutinho, Dembele, all of those things, including your club, all benefited from those all those purchases that happened when there was a lot of that money moving around that season. Money from Coutinho, money from Dembele, money from Neymar. When all that money was going around, it triggered buys all over other clubs. Very similarly here is what happens now. Nico Williams at Barcelona negotiated for, they were talking about agreed terms had been agreed, personal terms had been agreed, blah, blah, blah. You could all see, why would Nico want to go to Barca? Former great formidable top front three, and with Lamine up there. Only other place you go, you're Spanish, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, Basque people will hate you, but kind of understand,
Yeah.
But why not? You're getting paid already enough. You're from that region. They love you. You're in the Champions League next year for like one of the first times in a while. Why not? Hey, I might go to Barca. Okay, flick it. We'll give you 100 and 65,000. We never paid anyone that much. We'll pay you that 170,000. We've never paid anyone that much. That's more money than you need as a footballer. Damn right, I'll stay. Barca, suck a dick. I just used you. I love Nico for that. Strong negotiating. Use that to get a better deal. It sucks when it happens to you, but good to the kid. He signed until 2035. Okay. 10 years.
That's insane. That's
and
like one of those
doubled his release contract, which was at like 60 this year, so made it 120 million. And really just cemented that. So I think that's well played there in that sense. Use Barca, played them for a fiddle. But what that does mean, to your point, in terms of the knock-on effect, is who else? Now you start to look at potentials. Anthony, who did very well in Spain, who Barca have been talking about, did very well in Spain last year. The only problem is he plays on the right side.
I was going to say, that's Yamal's side.
Yeah, so he plays, they both just left-footed. Then a potentially cheaper option, someone who's also keen to go to Barca, could do very well.
And they do need a striker. Lewandowski, Torres.
Well, they know who plays on the left side, who can play down the left side or down the middle.
Rafinha is still there.
No, I know. But you must understand, brother, teams aren't built on your 11, okay?
Teams aren't built on your 25.
Exactly.
I know that. But again,
and so what they're looking for is they're looking for a winger. That is on their list is a winger because they did have injuries and they needed a winger. So they're looking for a winger. They also play false nine as well, which allows you to have Lamine or could be a Rashford or a freaking Rafinha drop into that false nine role or Lewandowski to play that false nine because all three can rotate across the front three line. So you can do that, which gives you a lot more options. So there's a lot of things that you can do there. So they've spoken about Rashford as a potential option, as a cheaper option. I know it sounds crazy, but Rashford could go for unwanted at Man United to Barca. We've seen other teams do that. We've seen dudes go from Leeds to Barca and then go like, oh, all of a sudden, they still got Rafinha. So
yeah, my main thing is how are these people going to get out of these wages? That's all. Because first, Manchester United have to buy out the wages to get out of the contract, right?
Listen.
That's my only point. That's my only point, especially because you're also being raked over the coals by Brentford, who have lost just about everybody on their squad. And
Boomer being charged, they want to charge more than 62 million. That's crazy, man. See, every time we try and buy someone, this is the. I almost want to say a word that people use way too much if you say, but I'm not going to get political. This is what happens when Man United, when you go and you try and buy something, they're like, oh, Man United's up here. You are, so you are just, it's wrong. They charge you double, and that's BS.
Yeah, they do that for Arsenal as well. Arsenal hasn't been able to sell a player larger than 40 million in how long?
Played from Arsenal for like 10 years. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And on that note, I will end it here. I want to thank you again, TC, for coming on. STEM Boys Watch Footy. Thank you all for listening.
All day, every day, baby.